So Mark Fullbrook, as you say, Liz Truss's top aide, chief of staff, at the heart of the Downing Street operation, overseeing political and economic strategy. He is a veteran Tory operative. He actually started working at Conservative Party headquarters under Margaret Thatcher, advised her, John Major, Boris Johnson, and now Truss. And what we've revealed pertains to his previous existence as a lobbyist and director at CT Group. That's a lobbying company founded by Sir Lyndon Crosby, who's obviously familiar to both of us as the Wizard of Oz, the Antipodean strategist who's had a hand in most of the Conservative Party's big general elections over the last decade or so. They're specialists in what we occasionally call the dark arts in politics, lobbying, consultancy, strategy. And Fullbrook, for many years, was a director in their mysteriously entitled Chief Global Projects Officer. And it was in this role that he spent some time in 2020 in Puerto Rico. He was working there for a man called Julio Verrera Vellatini. This is a Venezuelan-born, Mayfair-based Tory donor whose bank was domiciled in Puerto Rico. This is a US-governed territory. And the regulator there decided to investigate his bank. And Vellatini, says the FBI, came up with a plan, which was he promised the governor of the island that he would basically give her a bribe, give her several $100,000 worth of political campaigning support, political donations, on one condition, which was that the governor, this Trump-supporting Republican, sacked the head of the financial regulator, which was giving him a hard time.
Therefore, potentially removing the threat to his business.
Removing the threat to his business. The local regulator had established there were some suspicious transactions taking place at his bank, which is, by the way, now in the process of being wound up. But the FBI says that the governor accepted this bribe, but Vellatini, a foreign national who clearly did not want this alleged quid pro quo to become known, is said to have instead channeled the money to CT Group, which, and I've just reread the indictment before coming on, CT Group is said to have provided research which was used to support her. So rather than him paying the governor directly, which he was not eligible to do as a foreign donor, CT Group was allegedly brought in, and Fullbrook was the man leading this. He actually flew out to Puerto Rico hours after, in fact, on the same day that the head of this financial regulator had been sacked. And so he was interviewed by FBI agents earlier this year, only a few months ago, after a formal request had been made via the Metropolitan Police and the National Crime Agency.
So is he under investigation, or is he merely helping this investigation, into others?
Great question. So as recently as April, Fullbrook was what the FBI calls a subject in their investigation. There are various tiers in these criminal probes. You have a witness, a subject, and a target. And our intelligent readers and listeners, rather, can probably deduce what each of those means. I mean, a subject is somebody whose conduct is of potential interest to prosecutors. We know that Fullbrook, after being made a subject, signed something called a proffer agreement, which is a deal you make with prosecutors, basically saying, I will give you information which is useful to you. You cannot use this in any future criminal proceedings against me. And Fullbrook has emphasised he's now a witness, so he's cooperating fully with the US authorities. And his wording to me on the weekend, or rather his spokesperson wording, is he's confident that he's behaved within the law.
How serious is this for Liz Truss? I mean, it doesn't look great if, within a week of entering office, it's revealed your new chief of staff running Downing Street is embroiled in an FBI investigation.
Correct. I mean, a number of issues arise from this. Probably first and foremost among them is that, as Fullbrook himself told aides in Number 10 last week, according to Steve Swinford, our esteemed colleague, he said Truss's government has to draw a line under the scandals that bedeviled Boris Johnson's premiership. It's decidedly non-ideal then that, as you say, the chief of staff in Downing Street is embroiled in a FBI probe. There are diplomatic consequences. I mean, one Whitehall source says to me, how can it possibly be that Truss, flying out to meet Joe Biden today, has appointed somebody not under investigation, as you say, but embroiled in an investigation, was a subject in an investigation by Britain's closest ally into alleged foreign interference
And
in
he
the US
hasn't
election.
gone, has he? He's not travelled with her.
Well, he's not gone. And
Yeah.
in fact, just after we published the story, I received the tip that he was not going to be joining her. Now, Number 10 is stating that as though he can focus on all the important announcements coming down the track later this week. But it is, to put it mildly, somewhat unusual that the Chief of Staff and her top aide would not be accompanying her for her first bilateral meeting with the President of the United States.
As much as anything, to meet Joe Biden's chief of staff, to build those relationships so that, when you need to, you can pick up the phone to one of your closest allies.
Quite right. And he's also not passed vetting yet as well, which, they are saying is absolutely normal, and I have to take their word for it, but it's not ideal. He says he's told the propriety and ethics team. One thing we don't know is when he told them. Was it on Saturday after I approached him, or was it beforehand? And did Liz Truss know as well?
Well, we should say a spokesman for Mark Fullbrook said he was committed to and complies with all the laws and regulations in any jurisdiction in which he works, and is confident he has done so in this matter. He said Fullbrook had fully and completely engaged with the US authorities, adding the work was engaged only by Mr. Herrera and no one else. Mr. Fullbrook never did any work for, nor presented any research findings to the governor or her campaign.